You're up 21%. You have leapt to a record high on the stock. It is a record move for the stock, and you've added $13 billion in market cap. Just reflect for a moment on what people are calling a blowout quarter.
Yeah, well, good morning, Caroline. It was an exceptional quarter, I just said, right? We achieved a record-breaking results, a number of key metrics. We have tremendous demand across our portfolio. Our portfolio is at the intersection of networking, cloud, and AI. And that demand is durable. And therefore, thanks to the results of the first half, the tremendous record-breaking backlog that we have, the pipeline, which remains multiples of that backlog, allows to raise the 26 guide and to provide 2027 guide 6 months ahead because of that durability. So we are very, very proud of this moment.
Antonio, this is a story about demand, right? An outlook. And it's through HPE's lens, a revenue figure. But I think there's a lot of value if you could talk us through whether that outlook for 26 and then the 27 outlook, which you say is evidence of durability, is a volume story or it's a pricing story. In other words, no great volume of servers more than you'd normally do. You can just charge a lot more for them.
Well, first of all, when we talk about the outlook, we are actually pulling by 2 years the 2028 outlook that we provided last October at the Security Analyst Meeting, Intro 2026. And to give a sense, you saw that our earnings per share at the midpoint will be $3.40, which is $1 higher than the previous guidance. And at the core of that is our networking story and the improvements we have made across the entire portfolio, a combination, of course, of volume in the key product segments, whether it's campus and branch, which is up almost 30% in orders, so the routing business, so the data center switching business orders, which is up close to 20%. And then on the server side of the equation, we are up triple digits in demand. Storage for the 6th consecutive quarter, triple digits in our private cloud portfolio, which obviously has the AI factories for enterprise, continuous growth. So it is a volume story with very disciplined pricing and execution.
I mean, talking about discipline, the fact that operating profit you see going to 80 to 85% growth for the fiscal full year, and this in the context of memory prices just going through the roof. How are you able to navigate what could be a significant pricing pressure bottleneck still? There's a lot still to be a little bit anxious about, Antonio. What could disrupt this?
Well, we need to go underneath the portfolio and look at the mix, Caroline, because now with an $11 billion business in networking clearly drives a different mix in our gross margin, which was record 36.9%. Let's not forget that we are ahead of plan in the Juniper and Catalyst initiatives, both milestones and synergy. That fuels cost of sales improvements and OPEX improvements. And then you have, of course, you have the cost increases in DRAM and NAND, but fundamentally there is all about the demand. I have to tell you, and I commented this yesterday, customers need access to this technology. You guys have covered extremely well the AI momentum, both in the build out, but we were very pleased to see the acceleration in enterprise, which is driven by the adoption and especially in AI inferencing.
There are lots of things happening. On-prem is back. Hybrid cloud, as we just discussed with Perplexity, is becoming increasingly important. In your outlook, or even in the quarter gone, was this a story about one big customer that changed the trajectory for you? Or are you seeing new types of customer? It's not just a hyperscaler story anymore.
No, we have been very selectively playing in the AI at scale in terms of profitability as well as working capital, because you need a lot of working capital. We have prioritized paying down the debt and making sure we drive the profitable growth through networking, cloud, and AI in enterprise and sovereign and inferencing. So this is not one customer. This is a number of many customers. I spoke yesterday about some of the customers that we are winning, that are bringing that infrastructure on premise because for compliance reasons, governance reasons, data privacy reasons, security reasons, they need to do it on premise. And I give an example of my own use case. We, inside HPE, we have 1,200 AI use cases, of which 250 are in production. We actually use a combination of proprietary or closed models and open models, and we have very stringent governance, and we do it on premise. And we see that trend happening across the enterprise more and more.
I'm going to be very dry and very specific with you, Antonio. Is this an enterprise super cycle, or is this something different where agentic AI leads to a complete structural shift on how all kinds of companies change their spending habits? What do you see?
Is the latter. And I think, AI enterprise will accelerate. But the reality is that agentic AI is transforming the way we do business, is transforming business processes, workflows, and is making companies more agile and efficient. So that's what we see today. And I think we are early in the enterprise adoption. And I think, customers now want to make sure they are not left behind. We have a say inside the company, the future belongs to the fast. And so you got to move really fast. And we learned a lot through the COVID, right? Through the on-ramp to digital. So it's the latter. And I'm enthusiastic about this because it really helped customers to be more competitive in the market, which ultimately is the thesis about AI, productivity.
It's about productivity, and many worry that means fewer jobs. That means change in labor. Have you seen any changes to the way in which you're hiring? Maybe you don't need as many employees. What do you think about the narrative?
Well, definitely the type of roles you're hiring is different. But inside the company, we have a very aggressive talent development succession plan. In fact, this afternoon, I'm going to have a session with my entire team about that. But the skill sets of the future have to evolve. And, I always remind our 65,000 employees to use this technology in their favor to become more productive. And I believe everyone, including yourselves as anchors, you have to have a minor in AI. Have to use the technology is going to be a competitive advantage in every role across the enterprise.